Thank you guys so much for joining me today for another episode of the Corona Chronicles Live. I am excited to have my next guest here, Ann Scott Carter.
Hey.
And she and I actually got connected through a Facebook Live. So I remember she was on Facebook, and this is one of the things that I remind a lot of my clients and tribe members is that, when people are on Facebook, to engage with them. And as a result of me engaging on a topic that she was giving on the Facebook Live, we have connected through Facebook, and this is our first time actually connecting on an interview together.
Right.
So I'm excited to have her here today. And so at this time, we're going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself before we get into the interview.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, LaChelle. Really appreciate it. And I agree with you. I remember that live. And it is important to engage with people who engage with you. One, the logarithm likes it, but you actually build relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is about. My name is Ann Carter, and I have been in the online social media business building, what do you want to call it, opportunities for just a little over 4 years. My background is I was a kindergarten teacher, preschool special ed teacher, devoted my life to that. But when my firstborn was born 15 and a half years ago, I told my husband, there's no way I can be a decent teacher and give to my family because I was barely breathing, making it day by day when I didn't have children.
Right.
And it was a very, very, if you do the profession right, very demanding. Now, rewarding, but demanding, especially special ed. So he kind of looked at me twice. He thought I was joking. So no, I wasn't joking. But this was a long time ago. And back then, I think network marketing was more like, more like the in hotels and things like that. So it didn't even cross my mind. I was teaching part-time in preschools where my kids went, but I was essentially a stay-at-home mom. But the biggest piece of the problem was we couldn't afford it. And though it's great to be a preschool teacher, the hours were not there and the pay wasn't right. So I was introduced to network marketing. Did not know what it was beyond maybe my friends who did Avon and Mary Kay. I did not know what it was, but it was online at that point in 2016. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm on Facebook. I can do this. And so I jumped in not knowing what I was doing, of course, and it was not the right niche. It was a beauty niche, which is not my niche, but I didn't know. I was just like, yeah, I'll jump in and do this. And that's where you learn.
Right.
Yeah. And so and one thing I learned through the process is I was always coachable and usually consistent. Whenever I became inconsistent is because I'd stop believing in what I was doing, or I would lose faith. So there are times when I was inconsistent in the 4 years I've been online. So I've been doing this for 4 years. I ended up going into a health and wellness company, which definitely fit my niche, but burned out because I put everything into it. I knew what I was doing at this point. Attraction marketing is where this company does it right. And I spent hours and hours and hours really recruiting. And you're not supposed to spend hours and hours on this, but I was. And it was exhausting. And I just wasn't happy anymore. I wasn't enjoying anymore. And I wasn't seeing the results. And so after a fantastic vacation, and we did have a car accident, but we survived. So that's a bit blessing in itself.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm blessed by that to talk about it. But when we got back from that vacation, I feel like maybe something happened where I'm like, wow, life is so precious. You feel it more when you're in a scary situation. And I was just scrolling through Facebook, and and I saw a friend who had joined a affiliate marketing company, which was attraction marketing, um, branding yourself, which I really believe in. When you're in marketing, you should really brand you, not a product. So it
Mhm.
really resonated with me. But I was like, how have you made $3,500 in like, um, has she been going at it since July, and it had been like 8 weeks or something, 6 to 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And I was just like, how? What are you doing? Because I mean, only the top leaders in my company would see that maybe in 3.5 weeks, 2 months in. And
Mhm.
so she's like, oh, well, this is a new company and we're branding ourselves and we're completing tasks, and the tasks we're completing brands us. And I was like, okay. And so I was trying to wrap myself around that. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, I get that a lot. And so
Mhm.
after watching 2 webinars, I was like, I had the aha moment. You mean if you do the work, the creator's going to pay us? Oh, wow. Well, I always do the work.
Mhm.
All these years I was doing the work and not getting compensated. And that's why this affiliate marketing company came about,
Mm.
because so many people are failing in network marketing or in marketing in general. And they're putting all the work in, but they're not getting the result. They're not getting
Mhm.
paid, and they're not getting um, feel like they're doing it right. So yeah, and then it's just a simple tasks that we complete daily, and
Mhm.
the tasks we complete brands us. So I was already doing that work, you know.
Oh.
So it wasn't like more work. And she said you just need an hour to 2 hours a day. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And she believes in training. We have really in-depth training weekly, and so she's doing a good job. She's
Mhm.
her story backdrop real quick is she was a failing marketer herself,
Mhm.
and she paid for a mentor,
Mhm.
and she told her mentor, if I become successful at this, then I'm going to create something that's going to help others. And so that's
Mm.
so though she's in so yeah, so she kept her word. And
Mhm.
it's been fun because I'm not recruiting, I'm not like reaching out and asking people if they're open or not. It's
Mhm.
They're seeing what I'm posting, they're seeing my results.
Mm.
The payout results are amazing. Money talks, I think.
Mhm.
And so I guess you call it more of a financial niche. And
Mm.
with Christmas coming up and people who have, um, the situation we're in,
Oh,
many,
yeah. Yeah.
many people have been laid off, and restaurants are struggling. And so this is giving people, like, I know there's real estate brokers in New York City who can't sell and
Mhm.
they're making money here. So it's for newbies. It's for people who just never done this before, who they have
Mhm.
no idea what to do, which I wish,
Mhm.
if I had seen this in 2016, that'd be great. But it wasn't around yet. I don't think people struggled enough yet. So
Right.
that's the story. And it's not for everybody, but if you
Mhm.
are, so that's
Mhm.
me. I mean, I probably told a little bit more, but that is me in a nutshell, basically, where I was like, wow. And so my thing is it is blessing our family, because
Mhm.
now for the first time I'm actually have cash coming in for Christmas. I want to bless others. I want to bless
Mm.
others who are hurting, who are
Mhm.
worried, who need the bar, dogs in the park,
Mhm.
who need financial answers. So
Awesome. Well, that is great. Quite an introduction, and so many different things we could dive into
yeah,
because it is very relatable right now with this day and age. Staying home, trying to make ends meet. With one person working.
yeah,
I get that. Been there in every
yeah,
sense of the word of what you're saying. The
right.
first thing before we get started is I would love to hang out with you in that room because all those books, that's just my thing. I'm a
Yes.
bookaholic, okay?
Yes. It's my husband's
So
display. Yes, it's real books.
so
Yes.
I love that. Okay,
Yes.
so that's the first thing. The second
Yes.
thing is, going back to that moment of expressing to your spouse that it is a little overwhelming trying to
Mhm.
juggle working,
Mhm.
and, the space of dealing with children.
Mhm.
So for somebody who's out there right now,
Mhm.
and they're having that same struggle, what advice would you give them? Because, you mentioned your husband thought you were joking, and
Mhm.
that really was the reality of my situation too. I'm dealing with depression for
Mhm.
13 years because my husband saw me taking care of so many kids and was like, hey, everything seems to be running smoothly. So when I
Mhm.
was asking for help, it was like, oh, let me just let her go take a nap or something. Because if you're doing something and everybody on the outside looks like you're doing it well,
Mhm.
they don't really take you seriously when you're asking for help. So,
Right.
what advice would you give them about clearly communicating that you do need help?
Sure, sure, absolutely. So, yeah, that's a really good question. So, in my journey, I actually went back and tried teaching when I technically left teaching,
Mhm.
because, and I was teaching part time, but I didn't really count that. And I actually had taken 10 years off of the being in the public school and all the training and all that. And I
Mhm.
got in there, and I was so overwhelmed that I had a like emotional breakdown. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
eating. I had a 5-year-old who wanted me to play, and I was like, "Hey, to play with her, and I'm not ready for my lessons." And this is regular ed. This wasn't even special ed, so I
Mhm.
thought I could do it. And I was like, or I lesson plan and I blow off my 5-year-old. I'm like, no, she's only 5'1".
Mhm.
So, um, my husband was not pleased because money was starting to come back in, and this is way before network marketing. This was in 2013, and I said to
Mhm.
him, "I'm going to die. I'm going to
Mhm.
die. Like I don't eat. Like I was running because that burns off steam, but I'm
Mhm.
running, but I was not, I was like, I was eating a little bit, but I was not eating enough. And I lost too much weight too fast. So
Mm.
obviously it was not healthy.
Mhm.
And I felt like I was going to have a stroke.
Wow.
And one day I just broke down and cried and
Mhm.
said, I cannot continue this way. Like my kids were living on mac and cheese. This is like they were 5 and 8, or, they were young.
Mhm.
And I put my heart and soul into trying both. And at the
Mhm.
time and my husband is an attorney, but at the time my husband was traveling. And so he was gone like from 4 a.m. to 5 o'clock. And then he was like checked out because he was exhausted. So I was like,
Mhm.
I can't do this. And I know that,
Mhm.
I know single moms do, but in my situation, my emotional health went down. So
Yeah.
he had no choice. I said, if you
Mhm.
want your wife to survive, we will have to figure this out.
Mhm.
And that's where I prayed to God. And
Mhm.
about a year and a half later, I found network marketing. Um, if anyone is new to looking at network marketing, it's not always your first gig that you jump in and know what you're doing. It's
Mhm.
baby steps. But
Mhm.
that to me is so. So if you feel like whether you're network marketing or not, or you're thinking about it or whatever, or affiliate marketing, just or an online space marketing, if you feel like you're the hamster on the wheel, right?
Mhm.
And your life, your health is not good, like you're
Mhm.
overeating, undereating, um,
Mhm.
and your household is falling apart, and you could have a
Mhm.
car accident, or even,
Mhm.
I mean, that was the light bulb for me.
Yeah.
It was pretty severe. It
Mhm.
was
I
pretty
I
severe.
love that because, this is where a lot of people are. It's not by choice that this is happening. We are
Yeah.
in a global pandemic, and,
Yeah.
things are progressing in some areas, but I always want to make that known to people
Mhm.
because we just kind of get on this treadmill of thinking, well, we have to wear masks. And so we still have the
Mhm.
same standards for ourselves, but
Mhm.
we're dealing with limited resources. If you
Mhm.
have a restaurant and you're trying to still maintain a quota that you had last year, but
Right.
you have half the staff, half the
Mhm.
patrons, you can't keep doing the same thing
Mhm.
thinking that you're going to get the same results. You're going to burn yourself out. And so
Right.
these are good things to talk about. Now, so you mentioned the diet of your kids. So somebody is
Mhm.
in that space and
Mhm.
they're like, I just feel like I'm giving them processed foods. I'm
Mhm.
not cooking. I'm tired.
Yeah.
What baby steps could you give them? Because sometimes when you're overwhelmed, you don't have the clarity to do anything. And so you just keep digging a deeper hole of denial, or you procrastinate and say, I'm going to do better tomorrow,
Mhm.
but you don't really have a plan that you can
Mhm.
take and start moving forward. So, we got the diet for the kids or
Mhm.
sleeping or whatever. What do you think would be the most impactful to start as a baby step at that point to get out of that cycle?
Well, it depends on your financial situation. You know,
Mhm.
if you're getting decent pay, of course you can. There's so many companies out there that will deliver your dinner, but
Mm,
but honestly, that's not many people. So especially today,
mhm,
um, but I would. I the best thing I can only say is that um the only way I could get out of that was to realize that I cannot be the full-time teacher that, and by the time they take all the money away from you, you're not making a lot of money,
mm,
financially, and then be the mom, right? And
mhm,
so I had to step back and I didn't know about this avenue, but the only way I could solve it was to get out of that situation.
mhm.
I'm just thinking, I guess if you had the time, you could prepare the meals, but I didn't have that time.
Right.
I literally would leave like 7 in the morning to take my kids to school, and I walk in at 5:30 with a pile of books of things to prepare for the week and hungry kids. And so
Mhm,
I didn't have a solution.
mhm.
I mean, I was sending this is before Amazon delivered groceries. This is my husband was running errands and
Right.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
was making mac and cheese and it was not going well. So,
Mhm,
my only solution was I had to decide on, yeah, this is not healthy living, of course.
mhm,
Um, but how can I do it better? Like how I need to bring it back to the home. Like
mhm,
my mom was blessed in the 70s. Many women were stay-at-home moms. It was not an issue. The world was a lot
mhm,
cheaper.
mhm,
So that's what I always wanted. But at the same time, I didn't financially have the flexibility. Not many people do.
mhm,
And so when you lose one income, it's tough. The only answer I can say is it was going to be mac and cheese, processed pizza, all those things, unless I change something up. And I don't know. Many people might not be do what I did. It was hard, believe me.
mhm,
Um, but I think having faith in God for
mhm.
me, and like I knew that God wouldn't want me unhealthy. God wouldn't want me. I could have. I don't. I just couldn't perform anymore as doing both, and literally, I probably could have had a stroke. I mean,
Right.
I was really. I mean, I never sat down. We didn't get. Teachers can barely go to the bathroom, so I was
Mhm,
like losing weight because I was walking all over this huge school, not
mhm,
eating enough, and trying to serve my students. And of course, it gave me like 28 students with no assistance, and I'm like, yeah, so that went well.
mm.
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
So
Mhm,
I was exhausted, and I've run marathons, and marathons are easier. So I just feel the only thing is if you're in a situation where your diet, your food in your family is unhealthy, or you feel
mhm,
like you're overeating, undereating, um,
mhm,
you need to evaluate what how you can do it better. And being faith based,
mhm,
I knew stepping out was the only answer.
mhm.
I knew that stepping out was the only answer, and it was a hard answer. I mean, because like literally, I felt like I was leaving behind. I mean, I had to pull out in the middle of the year. I mean, it was
Right.
really
Mhm,
hard, and
mhm.
so that was a commitment I broke. But I had my family had comes first. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I have all the solutions. I did say if you're on a budget, it is really hard if you're working many hours and getting the meals right. So I think it's a global problem.
Yeah, and it just brings to mind, when you're talking is that we can have such a community oriented mindset when it comes to social media.
Mhm.
So we get on, we get in these groups, we gravitate to people that speak our language.
Mhm.
But even just thinking about, there's a separation with social and real life,
Mhm.
because to me, it's just like, a band of teachers coming together and saying, look, we're stressed out. We're
Mhm.
going to meet half an hour before school starts and we're going to do some mental wellness check-ins, or
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
going to swap recipes, or we're
Mhm.
going to come together and collaborate on some of the
Mhm.
problems that we're having so we can come up with some solutions. So
Right.
I think sometimes when it comes to real life, we compartmentalize so much
Mhm.
that we don't think about, hey, you know what? We're all having the same problem, or feeling the confidence to
Mhm.
admit that.
Mhm.
How many times I know in my
Yeah.
case, it was like, I'm not telling anybody I'm struggling. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like
No.
that just doesn't work out. So
Right.
knowing all the things, because you have a Facebook group and you're reaching out to people doing Facebook Live. So
Mhm.
for somebody who is like, man, I feel like I have something I want to share and or give and add value, what would you recommend them start doing in order to help, create this community of supporting one another?
Well, kind of like what you're doing. I mean, you're definitely have that going as well. I think you need to find your tribe.
Mhm.
Um, so you're saying like someone who's not on online, not in marketing at all, and they're needing this.
Mhm.
Okay, because yeah, definitely, and I really believe there's people who do online marketing. They may, I mean, we all could always benefit from money, but they're in it because they really, really need the community, right? They might be
Mhm.
isolated, especially now, right?
Mhm.
So my advice would be, you know, joining groups
Mhm.
of women or men, who your gender is, and or even a community, a co-ed community. Like when I first was learning about intermittent fasting,
Mhm.
I joined an intermittent fasting group, and it was very supportive because I didn't know anything about it, and like,
Mhm.
what is this? And it was a lot easier to have success in intermittent fasting with a support group. So even if you're like, oh, I don't want a business, I need a community. Well, then Facebook is your friend, because there's so many people here, and you can just go on the space bar and type in. At one point I was in a group for teens, teen moms with
Mhm.
kids with depression, because my son has battled that. I
Mhm.
don't need it anymore,
Mhm.
but now I go in there and support them, because
Mhm.
when I was in there, there were people who've gone through that bridge were supporting me. So you got to find that tribe, people
Mhm.
maybe there's a Christian group, if that's
Mhm.
also important. Um, but it so that's my biggest thing is finding that community, finding the group on Facebook.
Mhm.
Also look at who you're friends with. I delete anyone who's negative.
Mhm.
I block them, probably because I wouldn't want ever have them in my business or in my life.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
you need to look at the people you're surrounded with, online, offline.
Mhm.
It's a lot of people are mostly online because we're in, like you said, I feel like you're masked up. It's very hard to smile at people when you're out and about, so it's hard to connect with strangers now. um,
Mhm.
but on Facebook you can. I would suggest just doing that. And if you're feeling alone or needed that, that's my biggest suggestion. um,
Mhm.
I'm one of those people who was very scared about going live, but I was told, you go live, then people know who you are. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and so even if you're not doing it for business, you might go live with your kids, and you can track friends that way. If you have
Mhm.
children, you attract other moms with children, or something you're passionate about. If you're like, if you're an athlete and you're participating in something. So I really think that the communities are within social
Mhm.
media that can really help, for sure.
That's good. Great
Yeah.
advice. Now,
Yeah.
another question I would ask
Mhm.
is, the concept of doing these businesses with the different marketing that we mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
So, being able to try this one, that one's not working, trying another one. There's the element of being able to persevere,
Mhm.
to continue to stay focused on your goal in
Mhm.
spite of these experiments or ones that just didn't work out, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Mhm.
So, what do you do in your regular routine that gives you the stamina to keep on getting up regardless of the challenges that you're faced with, be it
Mhm.
a business or,
Mhm.
personal things that you have to overcome?
Oh, that's a good question. Um,
Mm.
well, I've seen it fail. Like I've seen it where it was done wrong. So the best way to answer that is giving yourself the most simple. Um, they call it DMO or IPAs, which daily
Mhm.
method operation,
Mhm.
or IPA. I think it's income producing activities. So
Mhm.
basically, I just had a conversation with someone. So many people, and this happened to me in my first business, and when I was doing it all wrong, I was told to constantly be online and constantly connect with people and constantly, verbally vomit your business and all the things you should do. And that's how you're going to burn out. One,
Mhm.
people are gonna like probably block you.
Mhm.
Second of all, you're not going to feel good about what you're doing. So whether you're like a lot of people who do what I'm doing and like what you're doing, the very busy mom as you are.
Mhm.
I'm a swim mom, so I was a meet all weekend, so we have a lot going on, and so I time block now, and that's something Ray Higdon really taught me. Um,
Mhm.
it's really important because
Mhm.
um, even if you had all day, you don't want to be on your phone all day. You're going to burn
Mhm.
out. Even if you didn't have
Mhm.
another job and you're like, able at home and you don't have the children or anything like that. But
Mhm.
most people have a 9 to 5 before they can.
Mhm.
And what's fun is I'm on a Facebook group within my company, and people are now leaving their 9 to 5. So there is you can leave your 9 to 5 if you do it right. but
Right.
most people start with a 9 to 5. If they're not a 9 to 5, which I left, you're busy with the children and you're busy laundry and all the other things. So there's
Mhm.
a time blocking. So I actually get up an
Mhm.
hour before my daughter gets up. She wakes up at 6:30. So I get up an
Mhm.
hour before,
Mhm.
and I do a task. And one of the things that
Mhm.
we do in our business, which it just needs to get done.
Mhm.
And it's engagement on Facebook.
Mhm.
So it's fun. It's all what you're
Mhm.
already doing, right? And
Mhm.
then time blocking, and then you're with the family and you get them off, and then I have a chunk of time. But fortunately my kids are in school. We were just talking about that, so I
Mhm.
use my time pretty much from like 10 a.m. to noon focusing on it doesn't need to take that long. You can do it quicker, but I focus on getting my things done. Of course I'm interacting with the dogs and things, so I'm not solid 2 hours, but I kind of
Mhm.
block that time out. And
Mhm.
then I transition to, okay, what needs to be done. And then my son gets out early because they started the school year early for the
Mhm.
pandemic, so he gets out. I had to leave here pretty early, so they're done like 1:40 or something, or two o'clock.
Mhm.
So my day can go fast, but
Mhm.
it's a time blocking. So my biggest advice would be to time block. um
Mhm.
if it's evenings, I have scheduled that I'll go live. Today's special, but I usually go live around 12 noon on Monday and Fridays, and so that's time blocked. um
Mhm.
Things happen. I mean, I had dentist appointment. I needed to
Mhm.
go buy my mom a present, so it's flexible. I mean, it's not
Mhm.
like, but you need to have that scooped out. You have to
Mhm.
be the teacher in me. You have to plan. Time blocks. We time
Mhm.
block as teachers, so that makes that avoids a burnout. You know,
Mm.
because you're like,
Mhm.
okay, so if in general, I'll sit down at 10 and I'll be done at noon, and I do a little before my kids wake up and all those, like, you're balancing it. But that's because if you're trying to do your business and cook, or you're trying to do your business at the table, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna be
Mhm.
miserable.
Mhm.
Money is not gonna make, even if you're making a ton of money, it's not. Your families should be number one after God. And
Right.
so it'd be God, the dog's going nuts, God, family, and business. And so
Mhm.
that that should be, so blocking it will save that.
Right.
Yeah. And I think when
I
I
love
was
it.
on the hamster wheel, I hope you can hear me okay. My dogs are
Oh
making
yeah,
noise.
you're fine.
Okay. When I was on the hamster wheel with the teaching, and then I was doing networking all the way wrong. It was exhausting. It was exhausting, and
Mhm.
it was not productive. So
Right. I love that. Yeah.
mhm.
I mean, time blocking is definitely great. That's a great thing to
Yeah,
highlight. So that is great.
absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
what are your non-negotiables when it comes to your daily method of operations for your business? Just the things that have to be done every day, regardless, in order to keep you moving forward in your business.
Non-negotiable. Um, you mean like if like if my family overstep, like if I have something that needs to be done with the family, or you're talking more like I
Like if
go ahead.
But like for your business, some things that have to be done every day
Hmm.
in order for you to keep being successful. So
So
like if you say, "Oh, I'm not doing any lead generation today." I know I don't have to do that every day, but what are some things that
right,
have to
right.
be done every day?
Okay, that's very good. I want to make sure I answer right. No,
Mhm.
I don't turn my TV on.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I'm not a big TV person anyway.
Mhm.
So that's to me a non-negotiable. If if you're like, oh, I have all morning, no, get the work done. You can do that, like and
Mhm.
exercise is important, but you need to have that part of that time block.
Mhm.
Non-negotiable is, I also say, is I sometimes have people will be messaging me,
Mhm.
and um I tell myself I got to finish what I'm doing, or I won't get back to what I'm doing. Like if it's if it's a one of the tasks I'm completing, you know, if someone's messaging you, they can wait even 24 hours. You don't have to
Right.
instant gratification. So I'd be like, that'd be one thing. If your phone is beeping, mine doesn't beep, I have a beeper off. But if your phone's notifications coming up, unless it's a school, if my kid's school calling, obviously that's
Right.
right. But I would say those distractibles, like
Right.
yeah, the distractibles, like your people are wanting information, which is you get excited,
Right.
but they have to wait. I had a man in Pakistan who was just going nuts this morning. I'm like, he can just calm down. I'm gonna get my because I knew I had an interview. I need to finish my task, then I'll talk to him. And so I think it's very important to do that, because if you let people take your time away, right? So if you also feel like, and it's hard for me because I am a people person, but if you feel like someone is wasting your time, that's not going to be negotiated. Because if you're giving yourself a small block of time, maybe it's in the evening after your kids go to bed and you're finish your day at your 9 to 5, or whether it's because you're at home and I know you're homeschooling, but you got them
Mhm.
plugged in. Now you have a moment. You don't want your time is just as precious as money, if not more.
Mhm.
So I'd say the extract outside sources like TV, um
Mhm.
bing 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 your phone, even if it's just a friend who wants to go running. Like I took care of my non-business friends messages before I started, but I if I came back I'd have to wait. And
Right.
you just can't negotiate that, because if you
Right.
negotiate that, you're going to lose your time, and then your business, right, won't prosper.
Yep.
um Also sleep, I mean, sleep is
Mhm.
important. So
Mhm.
when you time block, I would that is one you must do. So
Mhm.
I would definitely not put off sleep, because if you don't sleep you can't do your business well.
So true.
And
So
also,
true.
and eating too, you need to block in your eating time. And self-care, I really believe in
Right.
self-care. So
Mhm. Great
definitely,
things.
definitely,
Awesome. Now,
yeah.
so what final words would you like to share with the audience? We have your
Mhm.
website going across the bottom
Yeah,
of the screen for them to reach out to you, and we
yeah,
encourage them to do that
sure.
because, as you have mentioned before, we are in a time where it's important to have multiple streams of income.
Hmm.
Maybe you don't have the time to dedicate your 9 to 5 hours to doing a business, but you can start doing something on the side.
Right.
So we encourage them to reach out to you. But what
Oh.
final words would you
Um,
like to share with the audience today?
my final words is that if you are struggling at all, um, in what you're doing, if you are feel like you're on a hamster wheel,
Mhm.
like I felt before, like you feel like there's no hope, you need the finances, but your children, you can't afford childcare and you can't afford to cook, so you got to do all those other things too.
Mhm.
If you or feel like you're failing as a mom, or you're failing as a spouse, or failing as just in the world that we're in,
Mhm.
you can be, single too, it's fine. If you're feeling
Mhm.
like you're isolated and you don't have a job and you know what to do and
Mhm.
you're scared, most importantly, get out of your push yourself away and get out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Do and what I do may not be for you, all right,
Mhm.
but be open to the solution, be open to the
Mhm.
answer. um, there are so many opportunities out there. It's more than ever, but do your research,
Mhm.
for sure. My best advice, because I unfortunately I didn't do my research, but I learned.
Mhm.
I learned
Mhm.
what I wanted, but definitely get out of comfort zone. And if you are interested at all, and how is she making money? And I don't say this as a brag point, but I'm doing this
Mhm.
because if my friend didn't share it with me, I would never reached out to her. To date, I've been in this opportunity since August 27th, and already made $1,600, a little over $1,600, which to me is amazing. Like I
Mhm.
never imagined,
Mhm.
and many people are earning money just doing simple tasks that brands use. So it's building your
Mhm.
business online, and people are doing other businesses as well. It's not just
Mhm.
this business. So if that is interest, absolutely reach out to me.
Mhm.
Check out my link, of course, but reach out to me and say, "Hey, I saw you on the podcast," and we'll have that conversation. I will not be reaching out to you. Um, it's a non-recruiting. We don't recruit. We don't
Mhm.
spam, of course, but we don't reach out to people asking if this is what they want. You have to reach out to the individual, but from there, then you can decide. And it may
Mhm.
not be your answer. There's so many opportunities out there. Just be mindful of your time,
Mhm.
right? We talked about the time blocking, mindful of what you want to put into it, and go from there. And yeah, because I know this is not for everybody.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's not. But
Mhm.
I was a teacher who couldn't be a teacher anymore, who's at home with kids, and I was open to the opportunity. I was open to the
Mhm.
possibility. So
Mhm.
and
Love that.
yeah, and definitely professional development. That's
Mhm.
where you definitely grow. So yeah, so just you got to self dive into yourself and what you need, um, and be open. I think that's the biggest thing, is be open to what can help your situation.
Awesome. Now,
Yeah.
and what is the name of your Facebook group? We didn't mention that.
Um. So you mean with the business I'm in?
Yes. Well, don't you have a Facebook group of your
I
own?
did. So a little backdrop of me. I am in an MLM right now too,
Mhm.
and that's kind of side dropped
Okay.
because you can build both, but
Mhm.
I I I just maintaining my customers basically. So I'm not
Mhm.
real active in that Facebook group much anymore. I know.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Before you do a Facebook group, um, it's not an easy task. It's not an easy
So
thing to
true.
do. And so I'm not gonna say I burned out of it. It was too time consuming, and I
Right.
could not do it both. So although I wanted to have this motivational Facebook group,
Mhm.
I'm not active in there, unfortunately. Maybe it'll to come. I really
Right.
believe in multiple streams of income,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel like that's possible with my MLM, and so I'm actually looking at adding on to what I'm doing. So that's the direction I'm going now.
Mhm.
But Facebook groups are a good thing.
I love that. Hey, you're speaking my language because I have a group and it's like we just have 67 people in it.
Yeah,
And everybody comes on talking about, oh, we have 1,000 and we have so many. And I'm
yeah,
thinking, what?
yeah.
Because it does take that time that you
It
got to
does.
invest in that and
It
knowing
does.
that ahead of time. So
It
I
does.
love what you're saying because, the theme for the week with my tribe is scaling. and finding ways that we can simplify. Today we're talking about simplifying our time
Yes.
and,
Yes.
possibly combining tasks or getting
Yes.
rid of, like you said, those distractions that kind of keep us from
Yes.
doing the income producing activities or things that we have to do
Yes.
every day in order to move forward. So that's
Absolutely.
great insight.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate you sharing
absolutely.
that.
When it well,
Mhm.
it got and then to me to do the group well, I feel like you have to go live in your group. Going live twice
Mhm.
a day is just so hard. I tried.
Yeah, it's a
But
lot. It's a
it
lot.
is a lot. And the logarithm of Facebook,
Mhm.
because we do it within our company. Like we one of the things is if you don't have hundreds of people in your Facebook group commenting and adding, your logarithm is going to struggle. That means no one will see your posts. So it
Mm.
can be done, but I would
Mhm.
definitely do it in a group. For me personally, if I ever did it again, I would have a tribe and come in and we do it. I would doing it solo for sure is really hard
Mhm.
unless you're like 1%. So I'd say the 99% people, yeah, it's definitely and some people really it works for them and they don't it's fine. I just feel like in order to do it, you want to have a lot of interactions. So to do it well. So, anyways, well, thank you. It's a, I think,
Right.
did you freeze up? Yeah. So,
Yeah, froze up for a minute.
yeah. But thank you so much for having me. And
Oh, you are so welcome.
yeah. And like I
I'm
said,
so glad to finally meet you. I'm like, "Hey, now I gotta be meeting you in person so I can go over to
I
that
know.
library."
I know, I know, I know. I tell you, if you saw the rest, my husband it's a work in motion. He has a room right here full of books.
Mhm.
He's a bookworm. I believe in books and love books. Don't get me wrong, um,
Mhm.
but he's taken over the house with books.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I would have a lovely time, okay?
yeah,
I
absolutely.
originally wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be a
Oh,
corporate attorney. So reading and all that and being an only child,
he
you
was only taught too.
that you had to find some kind of way to pass the time. So reading was the thing for me and it still
Absolutely,
is. So yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I do digital reading because I don't have any, but I do agree with you wholeheartedly. It's sports, history, and
Mhm.
sports and history are both the biggest ones. He's huge fan of, and so we're also gifting the ones we're not doing anymore to the church and
Oh yeah.
to a used bookstore too. So you know, books come and go, and so it's a work in motion. So he could have a mansion of books and he'd be happy. But I mean, that's a good thing, and I love that backdrop. So if you sit here, it's too bright. You know, I think you're freezing on me, but it's just too bright. So I didn't want to have the brightness. So are you there? I think you're freezing on me. Are you there, LaChelle? I think we're frozen. Oh, she froze on me.
Okay, yeah,
There
we
you go.
froze.
You're
Yeah.
okay. I was just saying,
Okay.
see the window?
Well,
It's too bright, isn't it?
oh, okay.
So because the CEO of our company says go to a window. I'm like, it's too bright. I like the books. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I like
Well,
your
thank you so
nostalgia.
much.
You're welcome, and thank you for
It,
having me. And I really
yes, and
appreciate it.
please come back sometime. Anytime you want to catch up again, just let me know and we'll
Yeah, we'll do it
schedule
again.
another one, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, have a great day.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
So, this was a great topic. I want to thank you guys for joining me today and just the idea of recognizing that, we have a choice. We can change our situation if we decide to. There are times where things can be overwhelming, they can be hard, but we do have the option to move forward in ways that serve us. So, just as I mentioned earlier, this theme of the week is to scale, it is cutting back in areas that are not serving us. So, today's tip that I want to close out with is to schedule time where you can combine tasks. So, if you are into self development, maybe you can listen to a podcast while you're doing laundry, folding up some clothes, or doing the dishes. Or maybe if you are doing a Facebook Live for a group, and for your personal page, you can combine that and do one Facebook Live and break it up and edit it so you can put it on different platforms. So think about ways today how you can simplify your time and scale up by combining some tasks. So I want to thank you again for watching. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please feel free to put your information in the comments. Comment. If something here resonates with you, how many times do you feel like you are alone with the problems that you're having? You don't want to tell anybody. You isolate yourself and you just think it's going to magically work out if you ignore it. Well, if you're in that space, share this with somebody. This way, you don't have to go and talk to them, try to figure out if this is their situation. You can just share it and they can raise the awareness within themselves. So, thank you guys again for watching. If you want to be a guest, reach out to me because I would love to hear your insight. That's all that I have for today. Bye for now.